Hello YouTube world, Mackdaddy 1911A1 with the Shade Tree Survivalist coming to you from the front yard this morning, where yesterday Statue and I rebuilt the rear brakes on my tractor. They were getting on down there and they were needing to be replaced. The drums specifically, still had quite a bit of pad on some of the shoes, but I wanted to go ahead and do the entire job. So we did, as well as do the rear brakes on his Exploder, or his Explorer, his Ford Explorer. Now these babies right here are the drums off the rear of my tractor. They're over 100 pounds a piece, I just imagine. They are freaking heavy. And this here is the rear discs off his Explorer. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of comparison as far as the size. Over here, you got the box that his rear brakes came in for his Explorer. And here's two of the boxes stacked on top of each other for the brakes on my truck. Now the stuff on top, these springs, are for the brakes on my truck. And then you got two rollers at the front, and then you got two, they're not rollers, they pivot on the rear of the brake shoe on that there. As well as shocks. I put new shocks on the rear. Most people don't even realize exactly what shocks do. This one here was the only problem child we had. Ended up having to cut it and the bolt that held it onto the bottom of the truck, because the bushing had seized to the bolt. Ended up having to cut the bolt 3 different times in order to get it off. It was a stainless steel bushing, and how it seized to that steel like it did, I do not know. Get you a close-up of what the bushing is, and that'd be this inner part of the ring right here. This inside part. It's stainless steel, and my Sawzall metal blades would not cut it. It just would not do it. I bought what they call DeWalt bimetal blades. One had 18 teeth per inch and one had 14 teeth per inch, and it just wouldn't cut that stainless steel. So we had a time of it. But shock absorbers, when you apply the brakes, make sure that the tires maintain the traction with the ground. In other words, they keep them from bouncing. The brakes on these trucks are so damn strong that if you hit them really hard, and you may have seen this on trailers, trucks and trailers, when they come to a stop at a red light real suddenly, the tires on the trailer sometimes will start bouncing, because some of these different trailers do not have shocks. And the shock absorber's job is to make sure it doesn't do that, so that it'll maintain contact with the ground, which is friction. Without that friction, you don't have good contact with the ground, and your tire will go to bouncing, like I said, and you'll lose that traction, and therefore you actually will not be stopping. You'll be sliding. But I put all new shocks on the rear. I've got 2 new shocks on the front, but I ran out of daylight last night. It was about 10 o'clock when I got finished with it. And one of the reasons is I do not have a large impact wrench to take the lugs off with. And a 1/2 inch impact wrench is the biggest I've got, and it just will not do the job. So it's a pull handle and 2 extension bars and a jack stand and quite a bit of wood in order to keep the wrench square with the lug. And then standing on the end of those bars, bouncing up and down all 141 pounds to get them broke loose and then get them tightened back up. So it takes a while. That's what us redneck folks are good for. We can get the job done regardless if we had the correct tools or not. Now, get under here. And it's not a good viewpoint from here. Sorry about all the movement of the camera, ladies and gents. I'm trying to get a view of the brakes. Oh, maybe if I get the camera over here. That's what the brake pads look like. Right there in the center of the screen. And you can see the new drums. These are Webb drums made in the USA. And Meritor pads made in Canada. But this baby right here, holy smokes, that was a job just to get that damn old bolt off there. It was a grade A hard bolt, and had to cut the head off of it, and then I had to cut the bolt in 2 pieces. So 3 cuts in order to get that damn bolt off of there, and it was just about as hard as that stainless steel. But you see, another thing, you get irregular wear on these tires. and it'll dip. I don't really see any on these tires here, and the others are in the shadows. You really can't see it, but the shock absorbers help keep the irregular wear down. And also down here in the center, this ring right here that my hand is on, this is what they call a centromatic balancer. And they also help keep the drive tires balanced out so that they can do their job. And when you put these tires on, some people do this, some people don't, but you got a valve stem on the outside wheel, and then you've got a valve stem on the inside wheel, and then I think Statue did this particular one, and he doesn't have them directly across from each other. Without that centromatic balancer, you'd have a heavy spot because they're so close to each other. All right, let's go over here and look at one I did. All right, and at the very bottom, you can see I think you can see it in there. Let me see if I can get my camera up there. There's the valve stem there. I need to put a cap on, and 90 degrees directly across from it. If I can back this camera out, there's the other one. So this one's at the top, and then straight down and through that hole is the other one. That's the way they're supposed to be, directly opposite each other, so you don't have too much weight. But that centromatic balancer adds a pound of balancing force, and it always stays at the bottom. So as the tire turns, it'll stay at the bottom, and it'll keep it squared away, and your tires won't bounce. They'll maintain traction, and it'll help cut down the irregular wear. But I didn't realize my shocks they were so old and had gotten wore out. But you can see on this tire here how it dips in and then out, and then it got some irregular wear. That's caused by the damn shocks being wore out. And if you keep your shocks squared away, you shouldn't have that problem. So we got 4 shocks, 4 brake drums, 4 sets of brakes, and then 2 for the steer axle, plus a couple of 4 cans, large cans of brake cleaner. Added up to a grand total just a hair over $1,500. So a brake job on this truck is not that cheap. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what about the steer axle? Steer axle on a large truck only puts out between 40 and 60% of the power that the rear ones do, and they rarely need changing. I've got a brand spanking new set of brakes for the steer axle at home. Had them for 3 years and have yet to have to use them. Just been outstanding. So that's what I spent all day, well, about 3.5 hours Friday afternoon and all day Saturday doing. Working on my Bulldog, getting her squared away, and I'm gonna get the entire truck in the frame. I got to back off quite a ways to do it. But this is Mackdaddy 1911A1 with the Shade Tree Survivalist signing off. Y'all have a good day.